Word. What is
Ken?
up, everybody? How are you guys doing out there?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
So,
Thank you,
this is
guys.
the Lambra 2022 time trial. It is a solid 40 kilometers. And I'm not on a TT bike. Don't have an aero suit on. Don't have an aero helmet on. I am on my road bike in what I would consider to be just normal conditions. Yeah, it may be the most boring video ever, being that it is just a time trial. You don't really see much of anybody else or any racing. But I just wanted to give it a go for an hour and kind of show my sequence, my method, my timing here for this, as far as what my objective and plan was. So what I was really trying to do was split this up into 3 20-minute sections. And I had the objective of going out not as strong as I wanted to finish. I wanted to go negative splits. We did have a little bit of a headwind, and I didn't necessarily take that headwind into consideration, although in retrospect I should have. So I wanted to go out 20 minutes, first 20 minutes, somewhere around the 270 range watts, keeping my heart rate under 165, and going out with the second 20 minutes, somewhere in that range of 275 to 280 watts, keeping my heart rate under 170 beats. And then in that last 20 minutes, kind of trying to give it somewhere in that 285 to 290 watts, and really just trying to keep my heart rate under control in that last 20 minutes, not to where it's just going crazy and I'm exploding. But I did want to give it my all. Just in retrospect, I probably should have done it a little bit differently. So why was I looking at heart rate, I think is a good question. For me, I do have some actual data, some blood lactate testing that I've done, and some gas analysis, and I do have a threshold heart rate of about 168 to 170. So that's why I was looking at heart rate so closely. Coming up on the first 20 minutes here, and this is what the numbers look like. So as mentioned prior, I'm kind of shooting right here for somewhere around 270 is the mark that I was shooting for in that first 20-minute block. Looking at heart rate, once again, trying to keep it fairly low, somewhere below 165, and I felt like I did that well. I didn't feel any pressure, any pain here. I actually was feeling pretty good. That heart rate was fluctuating right around that, 165 mark, and maybe it's starting to go up now after the first 20-minute block. But first 20-minute block, I felt really good. That headwind was definitely apparent, but I didn't change my plan at all at this point in time. That guy right there that you see passing by me, also Mercs, no aero, just on a regular bike. He does have an aero bike, I believe, but it's a regular road bike. But super fast. I was surprised how quick he was. He actually took third overall, even on a Mercs bike. His name is TJ, and yeah, solid. So this is the halfway mark, turning around, going back in. At this point, I am definitely above my mark. I'm hitting my mark for the halfway point. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we hit the second 20-minute block. But definitely at this point, I was still feeling good. Everything was on point. I was rocking it. So another reason why I wanted to show you guys this video, as boring as it may be, is that a lot of people don't understand how to measure their efforts. Most athletes that I train, I will also make them do an FTP test about once a month. And one of the reasons is simply to understand, or to better understand how to measure their efforts, how to go out with an appropriate effort and not overshoot or undershoot efforts. If you better understand what or at what level you can push yourself to without exploding, you're much better off in the long run, and you're going to be a better cyclist for that. So this is the second 20-minute block, or 40 minutes into this, just a little bit over an hour time trial. And as you can see there, hitting the numbers, traveling at an average pace of 22.9 miles an hour. Average wattage was 277, and my average heart rate was 167. Once again, in this block, the second 20-minute block, I was trying to keep my heart rate under that 170 mark, 168, 170, and I felt like I did that well enough. And I was hitting that number that I was looking for of 275 to 280 for that second 20-minute block, or up to 40 minutes. So up to this point, doing really good. At this point, I did start to question a little bit. Like, did I come out, or did I go out too slow? And I think I decided, yes, I probably did. Because I have a tailwind. At this point, I'm flying. You kind of see it there with miles per hour, for instance. I'm up in the 27 miles an hour, pretty constant, just producing, an average of 275. So I really do feel like I could have probably managed that effort a little bit better, going out maybe a little bit stronger, just because that headwind was in our face, and then being able to kind of not necessarily back off, but just maintain the same amount of power for the last 20 minutes as I did for the middle 20 minutes. But I didn't do that. It's all retrospect, but I still felt like I put in a pretty good effort. You can also tell through this section, I started to catch a bunch of cyclists that maybe went out too fast and were maybe not doing negative splits, maybe blowing up a little bit and not being able to measure their efforts correctly. So as I mentioned, if you can better understand how to measure your efforts as a cyclist, you're going to be much better off for it in the long run. Knowing what you are capable of for X amount of time at X amount of watts is much better for you. I slow this part of the video down just to show you just that, how to measure an effort correctly, and right on that. So that just passing me right there is Matt Guevara. Some of you guys may know who he is. Just smooth and really measured his efforts through that, and was just killing it in the last, maybe for him, last 15-minute block. So this is the last 20-minute block that I had anticipated, and I felt like I did well. 286 watts in the last 20-minute block, 170 beats per minute, average pace of 26.1 miles per hour. I felt good about that, but I did feel as if I just undershot it in the beginning. I didn't go out strong enough into that headwind. And I wanted to finish just over an hour, and I finished at an hour and 2 minutes. I would have really liked to maybe shave off a minute of that, and maybe a little bit more than that. So this is me coming into the final stretch. The last two minutes, like I said, I averaged 305 watts, 175 beats per minute, and an average pace of about 26.5 miles an hour, I think is what it was. Overall, I felt like I did well. Could I have done better? Dang right I could have. But it was the first time I've put in an effort like that for a strong hour for quite some time. So remember, be able to measure your efforts, know what you're capable of, and I think that's a key to being successful in cycling. So thank you guys for watching. See you next time. Take care.